بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والنجم إذا هوى ما ضل صاحبكم وما غوى وما ينطق عن الهوى إن هو إلا وحي يوحى شديد القوى ذو مرة فاستوى وهو بالأفق الأعلى ثم دنا فتدلى فكان قاب قوسين أو أدنى فأوحى إلى عبده ما أوحى ما كذب الفؤاد ما رأى أفتمارونه على ما يرى ولقد رآه نزلة أخرى عند سدرة المنتهى عندها جنة المأوى إذ يغشى السدرة ما يغشى ما زاغ البصر وما طغى لقد رأى من آيات ربه الكبرى
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد ان سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه ومن تبعهم الى يوم الدين. Inshallah, today we'll talk about Surah Al-Najm, which is the star. And just for people who are new in the Quran, as we discussed it so many times, uses what we call a spiral or central teaching method, unlike the linear teaching method. Linear teaching method, you go subject after a subject and so on and build over it. In the circular system is that you discuss all of the subject every time, but you add focus in different points. So what I'm doing here, I'm actually going to give just one theme of the surah, but not to give interpretation of the whole surah or discuss all of the subject in the surah. Surah Al-Najm was revealed in Mecca, and it highlights key aspect of the Mi'raj. We know the Prophet ﷺ, Al-Isra and Mi'raj, and the Mi'raj with the ascension of the Prophet ﷺ from Jerusalem to the seventh heaven. And the Isra was from Mecca to Jerusalem. Now, when the Prophet, this obviously extraordinary event. I mean, it's something, it's hard to imagine that somebody can go from earth to heaven and come back in the same night. And when the Prophet ﷺ said this, what happened? What that account of this? Obviously, the idolaters, people in Mecca, rejected it. They faced it with disbelief, but also even caused the confusion among the Muslims. And the Muslims started, the confusion happened to the Muslim. Did this happen by only his soul or his body and soul? And that was the issue that debated, and you see it in the Muslim literature. So the theme of this surah actually is to address this debate. The debate is to contrast the two sources of knowledge. One is a divine revelation, and the other one is human assumption and interpretation. So the surah emphasized the superiority of the divine revelations in the sense that it is the only reliable source when it comes to address things of the unseen. Like when Allah talks about Allah, about the angel, about things like this event, it is something you cannot validate, experimentally. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, when it comes to unseen realities, you should trust the divine revelation. Don't rely in your, assumptions, because the only truth you get from the divine revelation. And therefore, the surah emphasized this issue about the knowledge of the idolaters, about all of these unseen realities. I said Allah, the angels, and about the hereafter are all based on false assumptions. It's just, a wishful thinking. But if you want to really know the truth, then you should get it from the revelation, which is from the Quran. And therefore, you find these ayat in the surah. وَإِنْ هِيَ إِلَّا أَسْمَاءٌ سَمَّيْتُمُوهَا أَنْتُمْ وَآبَؤُكُمْ. Talk about the angel. they used to call the angel with female names. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, these are but nothing but names you have, you and your father have named them. And Allah have not sent it down, and you have no authority about this information. And you just follow nothing but assumptions and what their soul desire. إن يتبعون إلا الظن وما تهوى الأنفس. They just make these things as things as some. They have no truth. There is no truth about or validity of what they're saying. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَقَدْ جَاءَهُم مِّن رَبِّهِمُ الْهُدَى, though guidance have came to them from their Lord. That Allah sent the guidance to tell you what is the true information about these things that you do not know. And then in another ayah, in the same surah, وَمَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِنْ يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي عَنْ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. They follow nothing but guesses. And indeed, guess has no use against the truth. And then also in another ayah, ذلك مبلغهم من العلم إن ربك هو أعلم من ضل عن سبيله وأعلم من اهتدى. This is the extent of their knowledge, which is based on all of these assumptions. Indeed, it is your Lord who knows best, and who have strayed from his path. Allah knows best who strayed from his path, and He knows best who is rightly guided. So Allah knows what everybody's the guided people and people who are strayed away from the best. Then the surah started with an oath. An oath was وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى. An oath basically challenged the belief of the many of the cultures, including the Arabs. They used to worship this, Sirius stars, Ashara, which is the brightest star that always available in the sky. So people used to worship it in this regard. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started with this because of this, and the people have done this. When they look to something, so and oh, they look at him and get impressed with it, they assume it is God, Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى, and then by the star, and it fades away and it vanishes. What is this oath? It shows the fallibility of whatever they believe. How can you believe in something that is going to die someday? It's going to basically, tumbles and dies. And this is based actually, then what the truth that you profound, the truth that you are going to get is coming in from the one who does not die. And this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the information that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have provided is divinely guided. It's not something that the Prophet ﷺ invented. So there is many things that you will have, which about, as I said, this unseen realities that you have to rely on revelation to do it. How we was created, where are we going to go after this when we die? This is something you cannot just imagine it. Then it has to have a revelation from Allah, what Allah wants from us, and so on. Then then Allah going to come and tell them directly. He said, okay, you even for thinking about God, you made a mistake. You worshipped something that's going to die, And by the way, all stars will die. And if you look, because the presentation is posted in the website, and in it I put actually in the appendix something about how the star dies, just for those who are interested, some scientific information on. Then directly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about the account of the miraculous trip in the Mi'raj. He told them that مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُهُ بَغَوَى, your companion, the Prophet, has neither gone astray or made an error. He's telling you the truth about what happened to him in this trip. And then continue to confirm, some element of what is he reported to them. And the surah revealed after what the Prophet ﷺ told them. And he talks about his encounter with the holy angel Jibril. وهو في الأفق الأعلى ثم دنا فتدلى فكان قاب قوسين أو أدنى فأوحى إلى عبده ما أوحى, and talk about the whole trip that's happening in the Mi'raj. And he talks about how he saw Jibril, which is Holy Spirit. Jibril was in the highest part of heaven. He approached it and came closer until there was a distance 2 bows length from even nearer. So Allah revealed to his slave, Muhammad, what he revealed. Never did the heart deny what he saw. Will you then dispute with him about what he saw? And indeed, he saw him, so Jibril, at the second descent, near Sidrat al-Muntaha. And you know the story about Sidrat al-Muntaha. When Jibril reached it, he said, I cannot go beyond this point. You can proceed from that point. That which is and that is the utmost boundary over the seven heavens, beyond which nobody can pass. You know, لقد رآه نزلة أخرى عند سدرة المنتهى. Then the surah emphasized that what the Prophet reported to them is he physically saw it. It wasn't just a dream or a vision or something. He said he actually did this trip, and he said ما زاغ البصر وما طغى. The sight did not waver, nor did it exceed its limit. That he actually saw it with his eyes, and then reiterates the point that whatever the Prophet tell you about that he received from revelation, he does not do it out of his own will. وما ينطق عن الهوى إن هو إلا وحي يوحى علمه شديد القوى. And he does not speak from his own inclination. That the Prophet is not just saying what he think he want to say. This is nothing but a revelation revealed, taught to him by the one of mighty power. علمه شديد القوى. And we know how the Prophet ﷺ received the revelation is by the holy angel Jibril come and deliver the message to him. Except the two ayahs that Jibril didn't deliver to the Prophet ﷺ. You know which one? It is the one that the Prophet ﷺ received in this trip. And this is the two last ayah from Surah Al-Baqarah. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه. So, and this is why the Prophet ﷺ, he read these two ayahs, it sufficed for him for the night. That even if he didn't wake up at night, then if he have to read it, at night. So the end of the day, okay, you receive the revelation and you receive commands from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are you going to do with it? Then it has to be translated into actions. And based on these actions, you are going to be judged in the hereafter. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and says, وَلِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيُجْزِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا بِمَا عَمَلُوا وَيَجْزِيَ الَّذِينَ أساءوا بما عملوا ويجزي الذين أحسنوا بالحسنى. That to Allah belongs all that's in heaven and all that's in earth, so that He give punishment to the evildoers for what they have did, for what they did, and rewards those who did good with the best reward. So the end of the day, there is going to be a day of judgment. There is going to be the accountability, and accountability is based on what you do, and everyone is responsible for himself. No sheikh, no rabbi, no priest, no father, no mother will defend you. It's better only your deeds is the one going to stand, and you'll be held accounted for it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and define, even you as a true believer are doing good. Those people who Allah reward, are you going to be perfect? Or you are going to make mistakes and probably commit some sins? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and says, الَّذِينَ. So I talk about now those people who are going to Allah will accept them and they reward them. What they are الَّذِينَ يَجْتَنِبُونَ كَبَائِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَالْفَوَاحِشَ إِلَّا اللَّمَمَ. That what they do, they abstain from the major sins and from the shameful deed, al-fawahish. إِلَّا اللَّمَمَ, except minor ones. So minor ones, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will dismiss. But major, what you want to focus in, or what is these major sins and fawahish? إلا اللمن وإن ربك واسع المغفرة وهو أعلم بكم أنشأكم من الأرض وإن أنتم أجنة في بطونها فلا تزكوا أنفسكم هو أعلم من اتقى. So this ayah, it actually has so many things learning from. One, it talks about that if you really want to achieve, you are not going to be perfect. Okay, none of us is perfect. Everybody is going to commit a sin. But watch for these major sins, al-kaba'ir and al-fawahish, and this, shameful deeds. Where are you going to find them? You are going to find them defined in the Quran. Allah, when He tell you do something, He detail it for you. So I did here the list for you from the Quran and the ayat that describe it. what is these major sins on your left? What is your left here? And this is the fawahish. If you do the ayat, that it is discussed about this is the, the fawahish, which is a shameful deed, and these are the major sins. And you can see it is, associating partner with Allah, neglecting prayer, murder, consuming the wealth of orphans, adultery, slandering a chaste woman, breaking covenant, drinking alcohol and gambling, despairing from the mercy of Allah, undutiful to parent, serving ties with your relatives, false testimony, fleeing from the battle. And in the fawahish, he has homosexuality, speaking about Allah without knowledge, and adultery. Adultery is coming in both of them.
Can we assume the left table is minor?
No. The left table is the major sins, and the right one is the fawahish, is the immoralities. Well, but it's okay. That's fine. I'm glad you pointed out. No, it's not. It's not. It's both of them are. No, it's a continuation. Yeah, but I separated them because Allah Subhanahu wa Taala they abstain from kaba'ir al-ism, which is a major sin, and the fawahish. Fawahish are shameful deeds. So in this regard. So that list, as I said, listed the Quran because it's all detailed in the Quran.
Fearing of the mercy of Allah is one of them.
Is a major sin. You're exactly right. Yeah. Now there is another one, and this is important also because this is, I feel that sometimes this ayah is very important. Actually, that I mark it in red. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said that what he did, he. Except indeed your Lord, extensive in forgiveness. He knows you more than anyone else from the time he produced you from the earth until you became fetus in the womb of your mother. So do not claim purity for yourselves. He knows best who have taqwa. فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَعْلَمُ مَنِ اتَّقَى. Why? That means you cannot attribute purity to yourself or to somebody else. Because why? Because I can judge you based on the outward actions. I see you truthful, I judge you truthful. I see you're charitable, it's charitable. You're honest, is honest. Work hard, is work hard. So I can judge you based on this, but I cannot judge the inside, your heart. Are you doing it as a show off? Are you doing it just because it is good things to do? Or you are doing it because you want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So the internal is so important. That's why you cannot judge. People come and say, oh, he's a wali. How do you know he's a wali? All of what you know, his action is good, but you do not know what's in his heart. Only Allah knows his heart because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he the judge only of the heart. What's your intention when you are doing this? So in this regard, it is those people who go like around, to the a tomb of a person and keep asking, to help him. How do you know this person is even accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's only because it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one is going to judge, and he judge based on two things, based on your heart and your limbs. What is your heart believes and what your limbs act. So these are the two things that you have to, to watch. We can only judge the outward, we cannot judge the inward. And that's why you should never think about, oh, his intention is, you don't know his intention. Don't judge anybody by his intention because you wouldn't know it. You're making a false assumption, in it. So we have to, this is something we have to do. And therefore, when you see people, yes, respect them and honor them. And they say, yes, I think they are good, but never affirm this statement for them. And I told you the story before about Osman ibn Maz'un. Anybody remember it? Should I say it again? Okay. Osman ibn Maz'un was one of the people who converted to Islam very early from Mecca and suffered a lot because of this. So when the Prophet ﷺ permitted them to immigrate to Habasha, he went to immigrate to Ethiopia, to Habasha, and then came back and then went to Medina, immigrated back to Medina. And then in the Battle of Badr, he was injured. Then when he was injured, he didn't die in the battle, but he was injured severely. So there was a lady called Ala was nursing him, and he died. Then, the Prophet ﷺ came him after he took him to her house when he died, when he found that he died. So Al-Ala said, basically, congratulations to Abu Mad'un, that he is going to go to paradise. And the Prophet ﷺ told him, how did you know? How do you know he's going to go to paradise? And she said, I mean, you think about it, a guy who first believer, he went immigrated, he came back, went to the battle, first battle. And then the Prophet ﷺ told him by Allah, I am his messenger and I don't know what he is going to do to me. So don't judge what Allah is going to do, And he said, نحسبه, you think he is this way. And that's how you judge people. You judge people based on the outward only, not based on the inward in this case. Then the surah actually has also an interesting verse about universal truths that shared about all humanity. Everybody from no matter what nationality, and this actually just a manifestation of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is this? The ayah says, وَأَنَّهُ وَأَضْحَكَ وَأَبْكَى وَأَنَّهُ وَأَمَاتَ وَأَحْيَا. That he is the one who make one laughs and make one weep. Is there an a Pakistani laugh and a Pakistani cry, and then there is an American laugh and American cry, or these are very common among all humanity. In the same time, the birth is the same, that this is the same. Everybody has the same, and this is the life from the beginning to the end. And so Allah Subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasize this point for us. There is something also interesting about this surah, and it has, in addition to the significance of the surah, this about the miraculous journey, the surah actually has a very important historical account, because what happened? The Prophet ﷺ went to Mecca when all of the leaders of Mecca were sitting there, and he started reciting this surah. And then when he came to the end of it, and this end of it is this: هذا نذير من النذر الأولى أزفت الآزفة ليس لها من دون الله كاشفة أفمن هذا الحديث تعجبون وتضحكون ولا تبكون وأنتم سامدون فاسجدوا لله واعبدوا. So the Prophet ﷺ was reciting these verses. The Quran is a warning, like early warning that has been received from Allah. The imminent judgment is drawing very close, and none besides Allah can avert it. Are you astonished by this statement, and you laugh and do not weep, wasting your time in heedlessness? So prostrate to Allah and worship Him. As soon as the Prophet ﷺ ended this, they said that all of the people that leader in Mecca who was sitting in the Kaaba prostrated. And as a result of this, the news, remember there's several people migrated to Ethiopia or Abyssinia. So as this news about the people from Mecca prostrated, heard the recitation of the Quran, went to them that the people of Mecca have became Muslims. So they came back to Mecca, returned back from the trip. And when some of them, when they reached closer, they said, no, they didn't. That was, just a reaction from them without actually being, converting to Islam or anything like this. So some of them went back, and some of them went to continue to Mecca, and then immigrated after that to Medina and suffered, all of the punishment that they used to have in Mecca. So that actually, underscores the impact of the words. Even the non-believer, when he heard it, and you hear it sometime in many of the YouTube videos about somebody just listening to the recitation of the Quran, it just impact the person. And I remember this was a friend of mine, was a Saudian. He was visiting a friend from Malaysia. And when the Quran was being recited, and in Arabic, obviously, the mother of that Malaysian is crying. And then, so he would ask him, does she understand what she's hearing? And he said, no, she doesn't understand Arabic. He said, well, why is she crying? And he said, but her heart understands. So sometime, and frankly, sometime even when you hear it, it becoming, shakes you. And that's why the recitation of the Quran has an impact on the people, even those who do not understand. Others, many studies have done it. Is no sharing this. So اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك يا ربنا تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم أوزعنا أن نشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علينا وعلى والدينا وأن نعمل صالحا ترضاه. اللهم أصلح لنا في ذرياتنا إنا تبنا إليك وإننا من المسلمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, make their graves a garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. We have our son Ma'raj, our daughter Aisha Wani, and many others. Oh Allah, grant to all of them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them, and make them righteous. Oh Allah, grant us the power and the ability that we may be grateful for the favor you have bestowed upon us and our parents, and that we may do righteous deeds that are pleasing to you. Oh Allah, we seek from you all of the good, whether we know it or we don't. And we seek your refuge from all evil, whether we know it or we don't. Oh Allah, we ask you in every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.